This podcast encourages and empowers you to create your own unique real story, develop your own unique real statement, and discover your own unique real self. The power is yours. Good morning, Jeremiah Krage. How are you doing on this wonderful, beautiful morning?
I am very, very, very well and delighted to be speaking with you today, Engel.
Well, it's a great pleasure to connect with you. I love the fact that you call me Engel. Oh, I have no idea what happens there. It's actually Angel, amazing audience, but you've heard Engel so many times because I've allowed it. Because
I am so sorry.
It doesn't really bother me that much. I'll tell you, it doesn't bother me.
Prior to this, I have practiced that because I read your phonetic description of how to pronounce your name, and I thought, right, I'm going to get it right. And then right out of the gate, I blew it. I'm so sorry, Angel.
Well, you're good. I wonder what it is, though, because there are many people that come on and they say, okay, help me pronounce your name. And I say, it's Angel. And they say, great, wonderful. And then I say, okay, let's get going. And I say, good morning. And they say, good morning, Angel.
Just as I did. Yep, I am so sorry.
I think it's something psychological. I think so. You're familiar with Engel, are you?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it is slightly more familiar. But you did a brilliant job of, I only gave you my name pronunciation once, and you gave it right back straight on your intro perfectly. So I guess you can see who the true pronunciation professional here.
Well, it's still time for me to call your name a few times, right? So payback might be there, right? But Jeremiah, it's a great pleasure to connect with you. What part of the world are you in right now?
I am speaking to you from Dartmoor National Park, which is in the United Kingdom.
All right. And
in England.
Which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this specific time in history?
Well, I actually have sort of two main talents. I work both as an actor and as a podcaster.
You have an amazing voice, I'll tell you that. Ooh, do you do voiceovers?
Actually, that's very funny that you ask. Yes, I do. However, they're very rarely my normal speaking voice. My work as a performer is generally very larger than life, non-human characters. So I will do voices my strength is voices that are more on the cartoon end of the scale, or for animation. So they're usually quite high-pitched, energetic, goofy, squeaky voices.
Oh, that's super cool. Wow. All right. So you are a podcaster. Tell me the name of your podcast a bit about what it is. And tell me a bit about what it is.
It's called The Practical Creative Podcast, and it is a space where I speak to artists, creatives, gallery owners, anyone who's working in a creative space about the reality of their work, trying to get into the nitty-gritty and the really practical elements of what they do, the how they do what they do, and why they do what they do. So I'm trying to understand on two levels. I'm trying to understand their motivation, what keeps them going, particularly in the creative arts, because it isn't always the most financially remunerative career choice, and it isn't always the safest career choice. So I'm curious to know what it is that keeps people going down that path, and what are some of the skills that they use in order to sustain that kind of lifestyle or career. And those are sometimes the really nitty-gritty of the practical elements of what tools are they using, how they structure their day, how do they prevent burnout, how they maintain their inspiration. Or it might be talking to them about how do they make ends meet financially, where is their income coming from, how do they manage sales and networking. So it's kind of looking at almost the holistic view of being a creative, but really honing in on the things that the audience can take away and consider applying to their own lives or their own practices.
Curiosity, definitely curiosity. Who did you learn that from, that ability to be curious and explore it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's something that it's just part of my DNA. I am just so incredibly curious. And the reason I created the podcast in the first place was that I found myself, whenever I met another artist or I would go to an artist's studio, I have a particular interest in ceramics. So I found myself going to finding local potters in the area around me and making trips to go and visit them, and just found myself in long conversations where I was asking all sorts of questions and realizing that actually these questions would be of interest to other people. And they're not applicable to any one medium. And it's extraordinary in the conversations that I'm having. If I talk to a painter, there are so many things that might be very specific to that medium, but that can be extrapolated, that you could apply to your practice if you are a printmaker or a glass blower, that we're all engaging in a creative practice, but there are so many overlaps in perhaps mindset or the way that we think about what we do, regardless of medium, or that transcend the medium that we're working in. And the curiosity is something that I've just had from I think from a very young age. It's gotten me into a lot of trouble as a young person, just wanting to see how things work and what's behind the next rock or around that corner, and have managed to go off and explore quite a lot of things and learn a lot in the process. And it's something that I thoroughly enjoy. I enjoy the process of asking questions and finding out more, and engaging in experiments, which is, I think, the other side of being a creative. One is asking what happens if, and the other side is then going off and finding out what happens if. And I think that's sort of at the crux of being a creative person. It's just having that question burning in the back of your mind, which I certainly do.
Yeah. And of course, I mean, the saying goes with it, curiosity kills the cat. Being that you're still alive, why will you continue to repeat these skills, knowing and understanding the challenges that go with it? Why will you continue?
I think because, well, one, I can't stop myself. It is, I'm incurable. I cannot stop myself. And the other is that it is so core to who I am. It is so germane to who Jeremiah is that I cannot deny it. I just have it. It just oozes out of everything I do. Wherever I go, any job that I might be in or any place that I'm in, I'm invariably either asking questions of the people who are there, or I am observing and trying to figure things out, because it may not be appropriate to ask questions. So it's, I can't turn it off. So I'm embracing it as a skill, as a superpower of my own.
I love it. Where can people connect with you that are listening?
So you can find the podcast at thepracticalcreative.life. And you can find out a bit more about my performance work at jkrage.com.
Love it. Tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
I walk my dog every day, twice a day.
Twice?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so first thing in the morning, we're out going for a walk. And as I said, we live in beautiful Dartmoor, which is a national park. So it's a beautiful landscape to be walking in. And then I walk him again in the evening. And there's something about the routine and structure of that, and the opportunity it provides to be outdoors. It's something I realized that if I didn't have a dog, I wouldn't have that external push to go and spend some time outside. It'd be very easy to keep my head down and stay indoors doing more work, being more productive. Whereas if I have to go out, I have to walk the dog in the morning and in the evening. I mean, most of the time I would choose to do that anyway, but when it's wet, windy, rainy, it's snowing, the weather isn't particularly nice for walking in, you still have to take the dog out. And by doing so, often I find that what I perceive to be the weather on the inside isn't nearly as bad as it really is when I get out there, and I actually end up enjoy being out in the elements. And there's such a great benefit from doing so. By just being out walking the dog, you can enjoy vicariously the pleasure that your dog's having in the outdoors, and also you're getting space and fresh air and a mental space. You're getting some distance from the work that you're doing, and then you can come back into your workspace with a bit of clarity and a bit of extra space in your own mind. And I think it's really, really a critical thing to have as a creative, or as anyone, particularly in the modern world.
Love it. Amazing audience. Again, you're hearing it live from Jeremiah Krage. Jeremiah, let's switch gears for a moment. Let me now invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Jeremiah, what is your earliest childhood memory?
This goes back to that curiosity thing. My earliest that I can remember is somehow finding a set of house keys and thinking that the electrical sockets on the wall looked very much like where my dad put the keys to drive the car. So I stuck the key into the electrical socket and got a tremendous electrical shock. But I needed to know what would happen if. And so I found out.
How old were you in that memory?
Oh, I must have been 3-4 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why do you think this sticks out?
I'm sorry?
Sure. Why do you think this sticks out, this memory?
Well, I think it was a very visceral experience. And I remember for years afterwards thinking that there was a fire behind that wall. And I still, to this day, have a crystal clear image of flames behind the wall. And that must have been why I had a shock.
You guys use 220, yeah? It's not the traditional 110, the current that we get, yeah?
Well, actually, because I'm originally from the U.S., so at that point I was living in Virginia in the U.S. So yeah, so we had 110. I don't know enough about electrics to tell you which would be better or worse to be sticking it to shock yourself with. But yeah.
How do you see that memory connecting to who you are today?
Oh, I think it's crystal clear that. It's the same thing. My wife worries about me sometimes that I inevitably want to poke anything I come across that I don't recognize, and that one day I'm going to be poking something that doesn't want to be poked, because I really almost cannot help myself to go, oh, what is that? And want to engage with it directly, and so I want to put my hands on it or get close to it to smell it or to engage with it in some manner. And I've just been doing that since I was super young, and it's still with me today. And I haven't been burned badly enough to stop doing it. So I'm like, as I said, I'm embracing it.
That's amazing. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind with that memory?
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Definitely keys, I think, for doors and opening doors. But I just love the metaphor of you accessing or opening the path to energy. And I found that to be so beautiful that you would put that key in there to access energy. And I think within what you're doing with the dog, with the podcast, being the person who is finding ways to be extremely energetic in the midst of everything that you're doing as a creative, accessing energy and through simple things, right? The walking of the dog. I think it's really cool. That's more core to what you are than just being the person who is asking for keys so that you can just open the door to see what's on the next side, but accessing energy. I love that imagery.
That's really, really interesting, because I think that's also part of the exchange. When you are curious, you are asking questions, but they go beyond just what is the answer. It's also a way of connecting with other people, and often in that connection there is an exchange of energy and an exchange of ideas, and that can lead to excitement, which builds energy. And I often find, actually, after I've interviewed someone on the podcast, by the time we get to the end, they end up telling me that they've enjoyed the experience, but are also walking away feeling inspired and energized, which is something I haven't been able to understand, really, because I feel like I'm just asking questions. But it's interesting to think of it from that point of view. Is actually, yes, there is something about being able to speak about what you do and having it articulated in a way that perhaps clarifies it or draws connections, and that there is someone on the outside who's actually interested in what you're doing, can reinforce your own commitment to what it is that you do.
Yeah. It's like I've only slept for like 2 hours. It's like after 5 a.m. here.
Oh no!
And I am. You couldn't tell. Like I'm energized. I'm buzzed. from definitely from that electrical exchange. Again, as you said, it could be dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah. I try to avoid too. Yeah. I'm trying to keep an eye on how far it goes. But yeah, there is something about building on energy, creating energy in a space. And I think that's something that certainly helps me as a performer as well, is being able to harness particularly a creative and playful energy, because energy can go many different directions, but trying to find something that is playful and buoyant and creative and enthusiastic, because that's also contagious. And when you're working with a group of people, if you're working on a TV set, as I often do, you want to share that and spread that, because it not only are you putting it out, but once it's in the space and other people are picking up on that, it comes back around, and then the entire space is elevated. Because people are having more fun and they're enjoying what they're doing, and it makes it easier and more enjoyable for everyone. And the end result, I believe, is improved.
Totally agree. Well said. Well said. I mean, if we fast forward to when you were 12 years old on this time machine, what was your favorite song?
Oh, it was a band called Starship, and the song was "Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now."
I love it. Well, it definitely does connect. Amazing audience, you're hearing it here live again from Jeremiah Krage. We're definitely having more fun than 12 minutes can hold. Please hold on with us, Jeremiah. We've arrived now at our destination. But before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Jeremiah, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yes, I have.
Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Do you have children?
No, I do not.
Do you believe in God?
No.
Do you have an inner circle of friends?
Yes.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
No.
How about 3 hours a week?
Yes.
What about screen time, the phone and or the computer? Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
Oh, that's that's tricky. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm working on if I'm working as an actor, then no, I there's hardly any time for screens. If I'm doing podcasting, then yes, it's more than 8.
All right, Jeremiah, if you had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents who you are, Jeremiah Krage, what would you say that is?
I believe that creativity is a muscle, and it's a muscle that we all have, and it's only as strong as you put the time into developing it.
Yeah, just like walking the dog, twice a day. This guy does it twice a day. I love it. Jeremiah, again, great pleasure. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Yes, I would like to encourage everyone to, as I say, I believe that everyone is and has potential to be creative in some way, and it doesn't have to be limited to some of the things that we think of creativity as perhaps being, you have to be able to draw, you have to be able to paint, you have to be able to sculpt, but creativity can be expressed in so many different ways. It could be in coding, it could be in architecture, it could be in the way that you can perfectly align tiles in a bathroom floor. It is everywhere and all around us. We just need to expand our vocabulary of what creativity is and what creative expression can be. And it can also be purely in your imagination. Something I love to do is just walk around and try to identify faces in things around me, in the nubbles of bark on a tree. Sometimes you can see 2 eyes and a nose, or on a fire hydrant you can see ears and eyes on it. Looking at the things around you, even your kitchen cabinets and things in your house, things can be more than what they first appear, and challenging yourself to look for just as simple as that, a face in an everyday object around you can change your perception of the world around you. And it's just a simple way of flexing and exercising that muscle of creativity.
There we go. Jeremiah Krage, thank you for being on What is Inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Angel, it is my pleasure. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. A pleasure I treasure.
This segment has been brought to you by Amazel Enterprise.